and welcome to another night of Chess and Psychology. Today is officially right around the corner from my birthday. So I thought about bringing a funny hat, but I'm gonna save that for the actual birthday on Friday. But I'm very excited to try and get through all of these amazing Philidor lines, so it's all gonna be over. I have you both on Twitch and YouTube, so feel free to say whatever you want, I'll see it. But the one thing I would definitely appreciate is donations. Not just because it's close to my birthday, which always does help, but because but also because each $75 supports a child through a full semester of chess in St. Louis. And well, I love chess. I want more kids to know chess, so bring it. All right, so we have been doing like some of my games and analysis inspired by the Negi's book of E4 versus French, Caro-Kann, and Philidor. We finished the Wiener Wars, which was a huge one. I'm hoping we'll get to wrap up Philidor today, and then we can jump back into French, try to wrap that up in 2 or 3 more sessions. So much fun. And then we're going to jump back to Caro-Kann, try to wrap that up, and then I'm hoping to do a mini endgame series, but that's so long in the future, we can talk about that later. All right, whoa, I got a really funny comment. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into the game, but right before we do that, I want to ask who actually is in St. Louis this weekend. If you are, send me like a thumbs up, a heart, something, because I do have a few more spots available for my in-person simultaneous games, and it's on Saturday, so if you're around or if you want to fly down, I know someone who did. So we can definitely make that happen. It will be really fun. All right, so without further ado, let's go to Philidor. So this one is going to be more of a line heavy style rather than my personal games, because not too many people have played serious games with me in Philidor. Oh, thank you for the link. And yeah, Philidor was a famous grandmaster. That is also true. So you can also get to this. You can also get these lines from D6, but I'm gonna focus on the E5 part of it now, and we will circle back and talk about D6 later on, because for D6, you know, it's usually going to be Pierre, or Modern, and it's a whole different stuff, but I do have a lot of experience in those. So let me ask you, what do you think is the most common way of black playing? What do you think is the most comfortable way black gets to play Philidor? Because they played D6, they kind of did this to themselves. Troy boy, I'm happy you're on a beach in Miami drinking. That's wonderful. Actually, earlier today I had a little bit of a taste of a drink called Kasparov and another drink called Fabiano right in the Kingside Diner. I mean, they're nice, but it's a really, really rainy day today, so drink's not going to be that fun. Okay, so I'm getting some responses. I'm having knight d7, knight c6. I'm having a lot of those, which is nice. Pawn takes is also cool. So for pawn takes, I would refer you back to the part 1 of the video, because we definitely talked about that earlier. If pawn takes, I'll give you a brief overview because we went more in depth on it. G6 is cool, knight f6 is cool. The thing is with G6, you're going to play bishop G7, right? Which means that in a long run, you're going to short castle. But I want a long castle, and your pawn on G6 could become a nice target. So I'm not going to get too deep in it, but I'll just give you a brief idea of, for example, how the moves could go. Just as a super quick example. And for the rest of it, do refer back to the part 1 Philidor that we had a few weeks earlier. Instead of G6, knight f6 is also kind of cool. Whoa, no. If knight f6, now as white, you have this very interesting choice, because you have to figure out where you want your king to be. Short castle, long castle. I'm more of a fan of having a long castle, because if we do manage to long castle on their short castle, I have a better center, my pieces are just more comfortable, and I can start attacking your king side. So you can start with knight c3. Again, there are like interesting f3 ideas as well, but I've never really actually tried this in a serious game. I've always had like a some sort of a scare when opponent gets, not that scare, but like, I don't want the opponent to get d5. So I've never really felt that comfortable allowing d5 to happen that easily. So knight c3, if opponent plays g6, again you can do these bishop g5 ideas and try to kind of get yourself more comfortable. And if not g6, the other is like bishop e7, and then you can just do this really cool idea and get your queen to d2, start, well, not long castling. That's not where I was going with this earlier, sorry. Oh, sorry, if no knight c6, yeah, if no knight c6, if like opponent tries to delay it a little, then you can go long castle, yeah. This would be much more comfortable because you get to simply continue developing. You're not really committing to making your king any weaker by moving it anywhere or allowing opponent to attack it easier. But you are setting up shop for h4, h5, as well as trying to counterattack opponent's attack against your king. All right. So let me go back. I'm not trying to really spend too much time on this pawn take, except pawn take. Knight f6 is interesting. Yes, I agree. Knight d7 is pretty cool too. I don't really know how I feel about knight c6. Uh-oh. Lichess is doing... Oh my god, Ben, remember when Lichess wasn't letting me make new moves? I love it. I missed that problem.
That happened recently with someone else too.
So it's not just against me. Okay, I'm glad to know at least it's not just me. Yeah. And Troy Boy, well, she's a WGM, but that's not the point. I'm showing you more of lines rather than specific games that have happened. It's a big like mash of both. So I want to still be able to give you the experience of, so this is something that happened in my game, and also give you the actual lines. Alright, so I'm going to show you a weird move. How do you feel about f5? Some people do it. So how's this f5 looking? Would you want to take anything over there? Bishop g5 is an interesting choice. Opponent is going to try and develop regardless, so bishop g5 could simply help them develop a little bit. Okay, I'm getting some d takes e5s, I'm getting some potential take over here. But yeah, it's actually nice to just ignore it, just get your knight out. And if take, you take back. If d5, you just move it. And if opponent tries to continue being funny, well... Oh, it let me make a move, cool. You're gonna get really wild against their king, and their squares are extremely weak. So that'll be fun for us. If h6, let me ask you, what would you do now? Well, you take on e5, they'll take on g5. I see an interesting potential for sacrifice being mentioned. So I just want to kind of circle back. Do you guys actually have that calculated? Because yeah, if you have to play knight h3, that's kind of sad. So if you play this knight to g5, you have to have something up your sleeve.
Take the pawn check and then maybe get your queen and bishop up there.
Well, that's kind of the problem. If you take, they'll take back with the pawn, and the rook is kind of defending over here. So we can't do that. So let's talk about knight f7. Let's say we play knight f7, and after knight f7, opponent king takes it. Because if they don't take it, then you're going to simply be able to eat their yeah, you're gonna eat something. So let's say knight f7, opponent takes, then what do? You're probably gonna eat this and give a check, right? Then let's say the king will, well, let's say the king goes back, then what do you do?
Come in with the queen.
Yeah. If the king goes to e7, I'm thinking knight g6 should just be fine. And if the king tries to get too adventurous, I'm very comfortable playing like either queen f3, and if bishop f5, worst case scenario, I can just play g4. Or if king f6, another idea that I'm kind of playing around with is queen h5, because it would be really lovely if I can give checks over here. So multiple options. All right. So f5 is no good, but you need to know this little trick. If you don't know this little trick and you start to like take over here when they play f5, I mean, taking is okay too. It's not the end of the world, but you still want to be very aware of how things are set up. So if there is a mini trap here that you can do, you should do it. All right. So let's talk a little about knight f6 first. What should we do?
Bishop g5.
Yep, that's completely possible. Knight c3 is also very doable. The one thing that I would not really recommend is this. I mean, actually, hold on. It's possible though, because if they do take, I mean, if they take here, you could exchange queens and then pick this up, and then you're threatening to pick this up. So, pretty interesting. But if they make a slight adjustment and take over here, then what would you do? A lot of people are hating this for black. Well, so do I. That's why I don't play it as black. Ouch. So what do you think is a good move as white here?
Bishop c4.
That's definitely possible. Is that the best one you have, or is there something more challenging?
That is the best one I have.
Okay. Bishop c4 is a very nice move. You're developing, you're bringing more pressure over here. The one that I would recommend is, yeah, queen d5 would be really cool, because you're bringing more attack to the knight, you're bringing pressure over here, and then your bishop c4 would be even more challenging for opponents. So I think this is quite nice. And actually, how should black try and defend this? Can't really go anywhere here, so it's either maybe bishop f5 or knight c5. Either way, the pieces are very misplaced, and I'm very happy about that. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little about this knight d7. Now we're talking more Philidor. So what do you think we should do as white? You can kind of see that you have better center, you have slightly better development, so you want to kind of try and keep those little advantages, and you want to pile them up. So how can we continue gaining little advantages?
d5?
No, my reason d5 is wrong, and later on it could be good. But the problem is that right now there's a nice tension in the center. If you close up the center, then opponent doesn't have to, opponent doesn't have to worry about it. So later on, because of how the pawn structures are set up, he could try to play like f5 ideas and start attack on the center, and that's like, you don't want to close up the center too early, so it's better to keep the tension.
So what, c3 or bishop e3?
Why? You don't know where this bishop belongs, but you do know where this knight and where this bishop belongs, so start with those. You might want to do bishop g5 later on, so if you play bishop e3, then that's a waste of move.
Yeah, that's true.
But do you know where this knight wants to be long term?
Yeah, probably Probably C3.
Yeah, so bring it. Knight c3 makes perfect sense. You could also start with bishop c4 if I'm being honest, and you can kind of like transpose it later on. But I am quite comfortable with knight c3 as is, because after knight c3, let's say opponent tries to develop normally. Then what do you do?
Then the bishop G.
We could do bishop g5, but again, it feels like it's a little too early to commit to this bishop.
Bishop C4.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a great diagonal for a bishop. We want this bishop to be here. Now, I'm going to kind of take a second. I'm going to flip the board, and I'm going to ask you to try and come up with some long-term ideas for black. Ugh, such a weird look from now. I had such great center and space now I flipped the board. All right. I see a lot of people are also mentioning g4. Yes, g4 is a very interesting tactical development in Philidor, but that's not as common. It's very doable, but you kind of gotta know what you're doing. I agree, Nikki. Who would play this? A lot of people do, and they feel comfortable because they're not really putting up a fight in the center yet, but they have every intention to do so later on. So what do you think, like, if black has 5 moves, what are those 5 moves gonna be? And no, like, it can't be just eat here, eat here, eat here, not that.
No, he gotta give his bishop to E7 in the castle, and then he can try to unwind it.
Okay, so that's 2 of them. What else you got? There should still...
The knight could go to B6 and hit that bishop, and then give him time to mess with the center, and then that lets his other bishop out.
Possible, but not necessarily the best one, because your knight up here would kind of be useless when the bishop moves away. So I agree on your first 2 ideas.
Okay.
Okay, the chat is coming up with some really cool ideas. I agree. Potential for
Maybe
C6, yep.
And then you're going to come out with B5 if you have to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You need to have some sort of a counter to play. You need to be able to attack something. So you're going to do short castle. So is white. White is also going to be doing short castle. And black has some potential ideas around here.
And that bishop could come to B. Well, later.
Well, that's a little longer, because we still want to be realistic about, okay, if I have that B5 idea or if I have this D5 idea, I'm quite content with it, so I can just kind of hold it as is. But if I need to start worrying about, I can't do anything in the center, now that's a huge problem. All right, so I'm gonna bring back, this is so much nicer. Oof, yeah, yeah. This reminds me from a scene. I'm a fan of the Friends TV show. I remember there was a scene that it was on Thanksgiving, and like Joey wanted to like eat a huge bird, and he went and got like Phoebe's maternity pants, and he could like stretch in it because it was so comfortable. And I think he ate the whole thing. I don't remember exactly about that part, but this kind of like looking at it from this aspect makes me like, okay, I can take a deep breath. But yeah, I don't really like it when I don't have center. All right, so black has a few ideas. They can take over here. They can try to just develop. And the knight b6 that you mentioned is, also possible later on. But leeches won't make me do it, so we'll talk about it later. Yeah, Joey does have goals. I don't know how he wasn't exploding in that TV show, but wow.
This black's for night.
Yes.
Yeah, white got, I see some plans for white to do something that black is
okay.
Get out that center.
So let me ask you, what if they take? Does that change anything? Are you still gonna do short castle in close future, or are you gonna start considering long castle? Question about the classic Philidor. Is it okay to trade queens early? If you're eating pawns, I would say yes. But if you are not eating pawns and you're kind of just getting into that end game, no. I actually had a game like that against Nazi Pakita, and the position was going good, but she really taught me a lesson. So. What do you think? That's fair. So if you want to keep your options open, what are you going to take that pawn back with?
Queen is what is off now.
I agree. Queen takes is quite nice because there is no more knight c6 to attack your queen, and even if they do c5s, then they're weakening this pawn, weakening this square. I'm totally fine with that. All right, so queen takes d4. Opponent could try to maybe play like bishop. Whoa, that is not the position I was going for. Sorry. Huge spoiler alert. Black could try to go bishop e7, and if they do, then we can try and get bishop out. Long castle, and now this was actually quite interesting because I always used to just kind of see if I can move this bishop away and, you know, start attacking. But we can't let this bishop be, and you can play like rook e1, which is so weird because, you know, you want to be attacking the king when there's opposite side castles.
Yeah,
But
central control.
exactly, yeah, because how much control over center you have, it does make sense to just develop. And I'm gonna go one step further and kind of blow your mind. How do you feel about bishop back to f1?
You're blowing my mind.
Exactly. Well, I don't think I'm blowing your mind. I think Negi would be the one who did the blowing. But bishop f1 is quite nice because it's like, sorry? Yes. But not just that. It's weird because I try to explain it to my students, but I don't think I always get through when I'm talking about bishops. So bishops are kind of, as long as they have, you know, they have some control over a diagonal, they are not undeveloped. You kind of move the bishops to put them in like better diagonals, or you move them to, you know, activate the rook. So if the rook is already out there, you don't need the bishop to be out there if there's no good spot for it. So it's kind of a weird concept to think of the bishop being already developed where it is, but that's true. You don't need to move it if you already have everything you want from it. So if you know, you move the bishop to do, you move the bishop to do short castle. But if you already castle, you don't need to do that. You move the bishop to get the rook out, but the rook is already out. So hallelujah.
And if he had swapped, that would have gave him more central control with the pawns and open the F file with it. So,
Yeah, if it did take, you're correct. It would take back, and then they would have some potential attacks in the center. So I agree. That's not a good idea to take. So thanks. All right. Question: is there a benefit to f1? Clearly, there is compared to d or e. Well, I mean, if you go here, you're blocking over here. If you go here, you're well.
blocking the
Exactly.
open,
Yeah,
So
you don't
you're
want.
almost forced to go back there or b3, which
Yeah, bishop b3 would also give some potentials for.
double and get.
I'm
you
even
back.
thinking maybe this could work, and just trap the bishop. Could be very unpleasant if that does happen. All right. So let's just go back. I just want to show this really cool bishop f1 line. Now, if they take, you know, they don't have to play. They can. They don't have to play weird. They can also let us play e5, which would be perfect for us. But all right, let's get back to bishop e7 because I'm trying to give you as much as I can for Philidor because I really don't want Philidor part 3. All right, so what should we do now? Is it time to just short castle, or should we get this bishop out? I apologize to the rook. I'm sure that bishop did. I would not really go knight g5 because knight g5 they would just probably castle and say thank you.
Right.
Because you're not gonna be taking that. There's already 2 defenders on it. So what else you got? Bishop g5 is indeed a possibility, but in my limited classical experience with Philidor, it is very important to have the exact right move order because if you don't, then opponent kind of manages to catch you with c6, b5, and that's, you want to avoid being caught off guard. So it's important to start with a4. Because the whole thing that we did was that opponent wants to do this, right? We'll take it away from them. That's my whole chess philosophy. Figure out what opponent wants to do and block it. All right, so now let me ask you, if they take, what has changed? Do we still want to take with the queen? Do we intend to do long castle? Because if not, you're going to do the short castle, so you don't need your queen to be out there just yet. It could be, but I don't think queen is bad, but it does kind of makes it a little bit vulnerable, because when you take with knight, you also have potentials for knight f5, and I do like that more. And let's say castle, knight e5, now I can just move the bishop away, and this is a very comfortable position. Of course, there is so much more to it, but this is a permanent weakness, this is a permanent weakness, this is a bad bishop, so you have little advantages here and there that do add up. So, cool. All right, I'm gonna make a huge jump back and talk about castle. All right, now what? Is it finally time to castle, or do we want to still continue moving these guys?
I guess castle. Well, you know you're gonna castle king side since you done gone A4. So.
Pretty much.
So I guess if you knew the best place to put the bishop, that would be a great place.
Yep. So you have two options for your bishop, but I agree. We don't necessarily want to rush it. Let's just castle, because you're not gonna be doing long castle anymore. So let's just get the king out of the way. So after castle, opponent has, especially with your pawn on a4, opponent has two interesting ways to go. They should still do something, because if not, then they don't really have enough space to breathe, right?
Right.
So c6 or a6, those two would be the interesting choices, because black can't really do much stuff in the king side, but they could try to set up stuff for queen side / center. So it does make sense to explore c6 and a6 a bit more. Let's start with, which one do I want to start with? Let's start with a6.
Yeah, I thought that'd be better because C5 might eventually.
Well, that's the thing. Even if c5s do happen, that also proves to be difficult for opponent, because they do give this outpost to us that is a permanent weakness for them. All right, so let's talk about a6. Long term, what do you think a6 is hoping to achieve? Also, thank you, chat Bahubali. Sorry, I can't really. It's such a tiny font. Yeah, but it's also hoping to achieve this.
His rook ain't protected any more than his.
That is true, but long term they do want to achieve this. So how can we try to continue blocking opponents' hopes and dreams? Yeah, I have no idea who said that.
The bishop from going to b6 too.
That too. No more jumping horses. Yeah, I like a5. And now opponents, can choose to take, which we can easily just take back. And if they try to get funny with their knights, it's totally fine. Will it continue to take away their hopes and dreams? I like that. Can we change the title to Dorsa Takes Hopes and Dreams Away from Opponents? Or that's a good book title for the next one. But yeah, I like this, because you just kind of, h3 serves no purpose for your position, but it takes away a lot of the things that opponent's hoping to achieve. So I like that. Yeah, it's prophylactic, but it's more of a knowing thing, because sometimes people play h3 because I ask them why, and they're like, well, later on in the end game I want my king to have something. So that's more of a prophylactic. Yeah, I feel like that's more what I understand is prophylactic. But this is just it's like, like little kids when they they do something and they ask why did you do it, and they do like this kind of feels like that. I don't know what's that called in English though. I have no idea. I can just make it. So yeah. So I feel like that's kind of that's the reason behind h3. Try to explain that to somebody. And
for the king, then who knows? You get over there and want to attack.
Yeah.
The G4.
Well, that's I don't think that's fair. We're not trying to do G4. We're just trying to take away G4 from opponents.
Yeah.
We're trying to be mean.
You mean,
Yeah. So h3, let's say opponent tries to continue and you're just gonna get the rest of your pieces out. You're going to again continue bothering them as much as you humanly can. And now again, you're just developing. You're not really setting up anything super special, but you know, this is a weak pawn, this is something that could happen, this is another weak pawn, your bishop is much better than their bishop. I think our knights are relatively similar, but you know, there is a lot of problems in their position. They're just really annoyed. So let me go a while back. I just wanted to show that, for example, even if knight e5, you could, well, come on, leeches. Okay, even if knight e5, you can just take and eat a pawn, and I'm quite happy with that. Even if they try to get knight g4 in earlier, then they're leaving this square, so we can start jumping there. Nikki, if you played bishop knight b6 earlier, that could happen. I mean, it could be, but not. I mean, we're kind of looking into a different idea, and especially with a6 when we play a5, there goes their knight b6 forever. And you know, even if this happens, I'm quite comfortable with this position. The problem is that this bishop is so useless. The only thing it's doing is trying to defend, and that's fair, it's defending, but this bishop, if it was here, our position would not be as comfortable, so cool. Alright, I'm gonna make another huge jump back, and I mean, after a5, the best move for black is technically h6, but you can continue playing this h3 to annoy them, and you know, you can just, the same things could happen, and I'm not really too worried about it. But alright, so I'm gonna just make another jump back. Let's talk c6 for a bit. I'm really hoping to wrap up Philidor today. So what should white do? Yes, that is one of the great ones. Your rook does belong on e1, you're not wrong. But that's not the best move order.
push the pawn on up to a5, stop him from expanding on the queen side?
I mean, that's also a possibility. I think that's okay too. But the main one is this one.
X3, the little.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't know if I can make that happen again. I need a clip from that, I guess. But yeah, h3 would be that, and you're taking away, you know, you're gaining more control over the g4 square, and let's say opponent goes ahead and okay, let's start with this. What if they take it? Because they played c6, so they have d5 support. Will you take that back?
That might go bishop captures pawn, take the intake.
Well, I mean,
I don't know
if you do that, you're kind of giving center to opponent, and you're also kind of opening up the rook. Don't be nice to your opponent.
Yeah, that's true.
What else do we have? We should probably take that, right? So let's say we take it, they play d5. Now what do we do?
Just move the bishop back to d3 to capture after you take that knight, or what?
Well, that's kind of the choice. Do you want to keep the bishop or do you want to keep the knight? There's the third option, but the third option would be you let them both stay here and you try to get an opponent's head and make them choose.
Wait, the knight captures the pawn. Let's see, what's going on there?
I mean, I don't think being a pawn down at the moment is such a huge heartbreaker because you are going to be able to get that pawn back. So, how do you feel about rook e1? If they take over here, okay, your rook will take, and you have two bishops Well, actually, they have 2 bishops too. That wasn't fair. You have 2 active bishops. There we go. And they have 2 really awkward bishops. And yes, you're technically still pawn down. And I mean, if you chose to, you could eat over here. But if you do, then opponent could start to poke you back. So I kind of like this more. And even if they try to defend it, that's okay, because we have such great momentum that we're just going to be able to kind of ride it. And I really like this. I'm very sad I've never gotten a game in Philidor like this. So that was kind of I just wanted to mention this. And, you know, even if they do funny business like this, whoa, come on, leeches. Okay, we can do bishop g5, start poking the queen, they move it, we move it. It's gonna be a beautiful mess. But it's messy, but like it's good for us. Because opponent is trying to defend this pawn, opponent is trying to develop, but we're trying to get our pieces out, and we know where we want to go with the pieces, so this makes so much more sense for us than it does for opponents. All right, let's talk maybe after rook e1. Let's see, what if they eat this guy? What do we do? Hello, Diggs. So they're still doing this uncomfortable fork. We are going to be giving one of those pieces back, but what do you think? Well, how do you think we should do that?
The queen takes, and then if you move the bishop up, you're gonna take with the knight or something.
Well, you take here, they could take this, and then if you take it, they could maybe try to trade off knights, and I don't want to make my pawns the life easy and help them develop. Let me ask you this. How do you feel about giving opponents some isolated pawns? I guess isolated double pawns. Yeah, they're easier to attack, they're easier to eat, harder for opponent to defend. And even if they do try and defend it, then we are simply going to be able to develop the way we want. And, you know, I think this is a slightly more comfortable position for black than most of the other lines we've seen. But, you know, it's a very weak pawn. It's really easy to attack. You have no, I can't think of any weaknesses you have. I mean, I guess this pawn could be slightly, you know, attackable, but even then they would have to relocate their knight to be able to attack this so that you could just push it. I think this is quite comfortable. All right, I'm gonna make a huge jump to here and ask, what if they took the bishop? Then what?
Which pawn?
Push or eat?
Push it.
But
Well,
this is a central pawn. Yeah, we should eat it. Oh, it will be great. We'll just take it back. And if they move their knight, now we have a new square that we can consider jumping into. And even if they do take, well, amazing. I can just take with the pawn.
Fast pawn with the other.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like having that pawn up there. All right, I'm gonna make another huge jump back. So let's say they don't take it. Let's say they play something a little different. How do you feel about, like, maybe a5? A little weird, but how do you feel about it? Nice. Well, what are you gonna do?
Probably take on d4, try and play squares.
Okay, so what do you think white should do? Should we get this rook rolling? No, we can't do rook e1. There are other options too. You can move this bishop away, you can move this bishop up, but rook e1 is good. And sorry, b3 after a5s. But I mean, what do you do if knight b6 happens?
Oh, you have if you had, yeah, I'm serious. If you had rook e1 instead of h38.
There is a very nice thing about h3. I'll show you in a second. But if a5 does happen, your bishop is totally fine here, and you can simply develop from the other material. And this is really comfortable. Your bishop is so strong over here. I don't think you have much to worry about for that bishop, at least. And even if something like that happens, again, you have a nice attack. Your rook can join the party too. So I'm gonna leave it here for this specific line with a5. And I will be sharing this doc, well, this link afterwards, hopefully, if I can figure out how. And so you can try and get deeper if you need to. And let's say no a5. Let's say they play, I mean, h6. h6 is so weird. You can just rook e1 it too. And then you can just continue developing. If they let you, a5 would be wonderful as well. How about rook? How about no h6? Let's say go b6. What do you think about b6?
Thank you.
Bye.
We can pawn on d6.
It does, but it also has some ideas, so don't underestimate it. I think I would be comfortable if we finally do why we did this h3, which is to do this. So we're trying to kind of surprise the opponent a little bit, because this keeps happening in Philidor, and I just want to go, ugh. So when this happens, everybody always plays rook e1, so black knows what they're doing. But with queen e2, rook d1, it's a little bit kind of more fun. And you know, you can simply get your bishops in the safe spot, so you can continue developing. Even if stuff happens there, boom, b4. Not in this position, but I've had experiences with closing up this side, and it's so uncomfortable. I love it. I believe it was in Sicilian actually, but I kept doing it. Let's say, for example, opponent goes rook e8. What do you think white should do?
g5.
Yeah, completely possible. And then the rook gotta move, and you can try and take, and start attacking it. Nice. Let's see. Anything else that I think is worth... Oh, there's a really cool bishop b7 idea. So bishop b7, opponent wants to, you know, set up shop for a file. So how do you think we can kind of bother them, not make it too easy for them? Exactly, bishop b3, yep. It's kind of weird to think about it, but bishop on b3, it's not that it's not doing anything. It's beginning to take more control over here. And, you know, if they play rook a8 and we don't combat it, they'll try to pile up here. I don't want that to happen. So I would much rather just exchange it. And if they rook takes, I always have this again. I could actually start with d5 and then try to open up a little, and now there's a bunch of new stuff I can attack. So let's see. So yeah, that's that bishop b3. I thought it was worth mentioning. Even if like knight b6, you can again do bishop b3, and again try and explore these weaknesses around here, because you have better development. That's a very important point to figure out when to resolve the tension in the center, because if you do it too early, there goes your chances. If you do it too late, opponents could gain control in return. So even if they play like h6, you can go again bishop b3. And now let me ask you, is it time to try and go maybe d5 or take or something? Okay, let's say we push. Let's say they don't take it. Let's say they go knight b6. What do we do then? Then what?
No, I'll take it.
You're gonna give up your... No, your beautiful bishop. No, no, no. Don't give it up. But it's such a good bishop. Poor bishop. But like, you can actually eat this pawn. So you had the right... You said the right thing. You want to eat, but... Yeah. Exactly. What about take? If they do take, now what? We have a bunch of stuff we can take. Why?
Because
If you can...
after you take with the bishop and they take back with their knight, you can take back with your knight, and then you could get your, you could trade their bishop or queen, or then go with their queen and take theirs back.
I think the problem with that is, I mean, it's definitely possible, but yeah, they'll move the queen, and then later on they'll have bishop b7 to continue attacking your knight. Well, that's another good point. Even if that wasn't the case, even if you could magically try and trap this queen, which actually that can't happen. Yeah, that was a... I agree. What about something more simple? Just knight takes, take back, rook takes. Well, your bishop wouldn't be serving much of a function up there. But your rook now is attacking over here, attacking over here. If opponent tries to defend it, now another cool move, and I think this will be our last move for now because we gotta switch to Twitch. Well, I guess we're already on Twitch, but we do have to start getting to analyze your game. So, how do you feel about c4? It's kind of weird, right? If they take, you take back. It's so weird because you have this passed pawn, but they can take it. But then you get bishop b5, and their queen is quite in trouble. They move it, boom, you go after it again. They move it, nice, you take that. And final move of this position, again, of course, nobody's ever going to, you know, memorize all this and have it happen to you. So, what is this? Last move for white. Beautiful, good job. And if they don't take, our knight is really amazing attacking this. If they do take, then we get double rooks up there attacking this. I love this position. Yeah, this was wonderful. The link will be in the description later on, so you can have access to Philidors and some of the winners that we've done so far. And we're gonna take a tiny break, get your games in, and restart back up on Twitch. So that will be bye-bye to my YouTube people. But do come to Twitch, bring a game for me to analyze. Don't forget, it's gotta be on Leech's format. And oh yes, don't forget to donate because it's my birthday. Not today, in 2 days. But still, you won't see me, so bring it up. Alright, bye everybody.